Grandview women's basketball coach Garey Smith joining us now for a conversation. And Garey, before we get to the upcoming games this weekend, let's kind of rehash what happened last year. Pretty special season the team had last year, 30-6, to run to the Elite Eight of the national tournament. That was a very special team you had.
That was a great group of kids. I think we struggled early and then had a little meeting amongst the players and got some things straightened out, and then they won 20 in a row. And one of those groups of kids that would just kind of get together and say, okay, it's time to get to work, and they'd figure out what they needed to do offensively or defensively, and they would win at the end. And those are really fun groups to be around.
To me, the pivotal game in last year's season was when you went to lacrosse and played Viterbo. That game went to double overtime. You rallied in the end of regulation to force overtime, then forcing a second overtime. To me, if you don't win that game, the season may be not quite as good as it was, in my opinion.
That's probably a pretty good assessment. Obviously, I missed that one because of the death of my father, but
right.
That's why we hire the good assistant coaches, and they did a nice job. And at the end of regulation, one player stood up, and the overtime, another one took their shots at it because everybody figured that Jen would be the one delivering the blow, but that didn't happen until the final overtime. So that's a nice part of it, when they can spread that around to different players and they do their job and take care of business, which they did.
And how fun was it to go to Sioux City and get 2 wins? You beat College of St. Mary out of Omaha. You beat a team out of Oregon, Corbin University out of Oregon. And then unfortunately ran into a little buzzsaw called Concordia, Nebraska. But that was a great run up in Sioux City. Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out who I made mad, though, that made us play all those late games.
Yeah, right.
And when you're playing at 10 or 10:30 at night starting, well, that's not a whole lot of fun. And I thought against Concordia we were well in control, and then we kind of just ran out of gas. And I think part of that was simply because of the late night curtain calls that we had, because that really screws up your sleep schedules a bunch, you know. And for coaches, well, we're okay with that because we don't need it, but for players, that's a whole different world. And yeah, they played very, very well. Played against, I did some things that I don't think anybody expected us to do, but that was a fun go for the kids.
Now the question is, how do you replace a 2-time All-American Jennifer Jorgensen, who averaged 23 points, 10 rebounds a game? But now you figure you have Morgan Hammond returns, Amy Voss returns, a couple of double-figure scorers returning for this year's team, and then a lot of newcomers to the squad, I think, this year.
Well, I'm not sure that you ever replace, you know, players like that. But I think the thing that's going to be different for us is that we have a whole lot more depth than we had last year. We can probably go about 10 or 11 deep, and we didn't have that luxury last year. And so what we've talked to them about is we don't expect anybody to drop in 20 to 30 points, but we expect everybody to be able to score. And whenever we figure out who they're going to try to take out of the game, and then somebody else and do their time. So we should have a lot of people close to those double figures, which would easily make up for what Jen did.
Tell us about the newcomers on the team this year.
Well, the recruiting thing's always fun, and we got a young lady that played at Southeastern Junior College, and then went to Upper Iowa for a year and played, and then was coaching at a JUCO, and called and said she wanted to finish her education, wanted to know if we would let her play senior year. 6'2", Lena Locke, she's an incredible athlete. You probably will be amazed at some of the things she can do. She is really pretty decent, and 25 years old, so she's a little headsy. Then we have a 6'3", JUCO All-American that was at Iowa Central and went to South Dakota for 1 day and didn't like that and called, and we got her enrolled, and Micah is pretty sound, very sound. Then we have a young lady that went to Minnesota State as a softball player from Southeast Polk, and we tried to recruit her out of Southeast Polk, and she was a heck of a shooter. And she left there and now has come back and has given up softball and just wants to play basketball, and she is doing quite well at filling the thing from the outside. And then we have a transfer, the starting point guard for Briarcliff, Ashley Zobel. She transferred in, thought it would be more interesting to play in our system rather than theirs. You know, we just, that's one of those things, you know, and she's going to be a pretty good player. In fact, she's going to be a really good player. And then the rest of them are freshmen that we currently haven't moved any of them up yet. They're all down on the junior varsity squad, who opens up tonight against Marshalltown.
You know, I think a lot of the success to last year's team really attributed, after you talked about, you know, Jen Jorgensen and Amy Voss and Morgan Hamner, your triple or your double figure scorers. You had a lot of good role players on the team last year. You know, Nicole Wilson, of course, graduates, but you talk about Abby Menlick, Shelby Beatty, Carissa Schindler, Haley Biancalana. They all kind of filled in the little holes that were needed last year.
And the one that's really, really, really been impressive to us so far this year has been Abby. She really has elevated her game, and she's actually been real fun to watch in practice and stuff like that, and she has really played well. Carissa is unbelievable. She's the type of kid that you always wish that you had 15 of those. There's never a minute in practice when she doesn't give you 150%. She can shoot, she can shoot, she can shoot.
She's a streaky shooter.
She is. And boy, when she's on and feeling it, why, you want to get her free. And she is an intense defensive player, and then she goes and gets the rebounds. Shelby has athletic skills, and she can do things that a lot of kids just wish they could do. And Shelby has played really, really well, you know. And Haley is Haley. You know, she's just one of those people you look out and she just kind of flows along, you know, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, she's got 6 or 7 rebounds and 8 or 10 points. Well, and you don't even realize that until you pick up the score sheet. She's just kind of one of those people that's just like that. And she's playing pretty well right now too. So.
Typically, Garey, you know, you like to schedule them difficult in the non-conference, and it's not any different this year. I know Morningside and Briarcliff are going to visit a system this year. 2 top 10 teams, preseason rankings. Of course, Grandview is number 8 as well in preseason. And then you go on the road for 3 games against D2 schools. So talk about that swing through Upper Iowa, Winona State, and St. Cloud State.
Well, first of all, Morningside's ranked 2nd, and that'll be a real challenge for us a week from this Friday. But we have them at home. And then Briarcliff is tied with us, ranked number 8, so that'll be interesting. And then we go to Upper Iowa and Winona State, and then play at St. Cloud. And I don't know, if you look back through the history, we were doing some research, and I guess in my 30 years in college coaching, if I would play some reasonable schedules, the winning percentage would be pretty high. But we barely, you know, usually are just between 50 and 55-6%. But I think that gets us ready to play the conference. And we're a little different than other teams in that we take 2 full weeks off at Christmas. That gets us ready for the charge at the when you begin the conference season. But we have always played big-time teams in the preseason and won't change.
Conference race, Grandview picked to defend their championship this year in the preseason MCC poll. William Penn, St. Ambrose, your 2 and 3 teams. How do you think the league is going to shape up this year?
William Penn is going to be tougher than nails. They are really, really quick, and they're pretty decent at stroking the 3, and all of them are going to shoot the 3. Instead of going in for a layup, they're going to pull up and shoot a 3. And they opened with a win already. They beat Waldorf pretty handily. So they're going to be a difficult go. Ambrose, they've got a lot of talented players. And in the scrimmages, they looked a little like they hadn't quite figured out who was going to do what yet, but I'm sure that eventually they will. And they do have probably the most talent of anybody in the leagues, and they'll be tough. And to be honest, as you look at it, I don't see any conference school in there that's, you know, when you get on the bus to go there to play, that you're going to win. I think they're all going to be a difficult go, and you better be ready to play. They really upgraded their talent in each one of the conference schools, which is good, because if you have any intentions of doing something in the national tournament, you need to play people like that. So that's a good part of that.
Okay, let's get to the games this weekend. Grandview hosting games Friday night, Saturday night in their own classic. Iowa Wesleyan is your season opener Friday night, a team you beat twice last year, home and home. But for the first time, they're not in the MCC. They're moving up to Division III. But obviously you're well familiar with Iowa Wesleyan and what they bring to the table.
Steve's one of the better coaches in the country. He does an incredible job. They have 4 starters back from last year, and got a couple junior college transfers. They will be very difficult. The thing that will be different about them is that we probably will start, 6'2", 6'1", 6'1", and their tallest player is 5'10". So if we can take care of business inside, well, we'll be okay. That's going to be one of the real keys for us, is to make sure that we score inside and take care of the D boards, and we should be okay there.
And then Saturday you host Missouri Valley. What's the early scouting report on Missouri Valley?
Well, we had the scouting report all figured out and in place, and then they played a scrimmage at JUCO last night, and we got hold of the DVD, and there's a whole new team. I don't have any idea what happened to the players that should have been back from last year, but they're not there. And so we had to scramble. In fact, that's what we were just doing, was breaking down the DVD so we could try to figure out how, and they are going to start basically pretty much all freshmen. They're really young, but they are pretty talented freshmen. And I think they were 6 of 26 from the three-point ring last night, which at home. So obviously they like to launch that 3, so I guess we're going to have to figure out how to guard the 3. And we'll be working on that this afternoon when we get to practice.
All right, so it's Iowa Wesleyan Friday night, 7:30, and Missouri Valley 6 o'clock Saturday night to open up the 2012-2013 Grandview women's basketball season. Gary, look for another good run from the women this year.
Well, I think they've got the right attitude. They've been having fun, and they've worked really hard over the summer and in the early parts of the fall. So I think they're ready to go.
Good luck in the season, Gary.
I need to tell you one thing.
What's that?
We're going to do a first next Tuesday at Dort. We're going to play a matinee game at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. Did that just pop up on the schedule, or?
No, they were scheduled, and then their volleyball team finished in the upper 4, so they're have to host a home volleyball match at 7 o'clock. So we got bumped to 3:30.
Okay.
And I've never I've never played quite that early on a weekday, so that'll be interesting to see how that comes out.
That'll be interesting. All right, Gary, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeff.
Grandview women's basketball coach Garey Smith.